Well, we'll probably get to that in a little bit, but you know who had a big night on Capitol Hill last night. He addressed Congress for the first time as president and also finally addressed recent acts of anti-Semitism and hate crimes. Take a look.
Recent threats targeting Jewish community centers and vandalism of Jewish cemeteries, as well as last week's shooting in Kansas City, remind us that while we may be a nation divided on policies, we are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
So he struck a more optimistic tone than he has, I think, in the past. But, you know, people are questioning, you know, was this theater? How long will it last? What is this? What did you watch? What'd you think?
I did watch.
So in other words, if you put down racism and anti-Semitism, that's optimistic. That should be de rigueur, as they say. That's the regular.
In comparison to the inauguration speech, that was very gloomy and like we're in a, you know,
Well, this one was de-Bannonized.
Yes. I think that's true, actually.
Yeah.
I think what happened was the likes of Steve Bannon and the people like him were behind the scenes running this very much like a political campaign. And I think Donald Trump and some of the more moderate people said, this isn't working. People feel marginalized, and I'm hoping that he realized that. I know he admitted on Fox and Friends the day before or earlier that day that his messaging had been off, and he gave himself a C or a C- in terms of messaging. And I'm wondering if there hasn't been some realization that he may have an agenda that he deems positive for the country, but he's isolating a lot of people. This, for me, was more optimistic. I think he did reach across the aisle on policy. I had predicted that he would talk about infrastructure development, which is something Democrats often get behind. He talked about paid leave. He talked about working with Muslim nations to fight together against
terrorism. He's talked a lot about Ivanka Trump's, I think, pet projects. I mean, we know that she's been very active in the White House. She's taken a lot of meetings within the White House.
Paid family leave.
Didn't the Clintons do paid family leave?
Probably.
Yes.
Democrats have been working on that for quite some time.
It's a much more liberal stance.
Right, but it's been there for a while. Yeah.
It has, but I think Republicans many times, in many cases, have opposed that, and Ivanka had come out and supported it, and people were saying, will Trump back that up?
We saw her hands, I think, a lot in that speech, and that was heartening for me.
Well, I tell you, you know, now, listening to what he had to say about hate crimes and things, does it matter that hours before he spoke out against the hate crimes, he claimed that some of them could have been committed by people who just wanted to make him look bad?
Yeah, I
think it does matter.
about him.
That's the problem, I think, with the speech. It was a good speech. I think he delivered it well. He read it on a teleprompter. But it's not so much the speech. It's what policies and what he's doing behind the scenes. And we know that he's saying things when he is unscripted that are really scary,
Well,
I think.
there's a disconnect. So on the one hand, he doesn't like the crime is going up. And he talks about Chicago a lot. At the same time, he signed some kind of legislation that says that mentally ill people should have easier access to guns.
Yes.
So those are the things that Americans need to really think
Happening
about.
behind the scenes.
He says that he would promote clean air and clean water, but then he tries to dismantle the Clean Water Act and puts in a guy in the EPA who wants to dismantle and pollute the streams. So it doesn't matter what, it's like, don't listen to what he's saying, listen to what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, his agenda doesn't line up with what I typically look for in a president. I didn't vote for him, but I have been waiting for him to come out and say anything that resembles I'm everyone's president or uniting us. And although I agree, whether the sincerity was there, because hours before he had said something otherwise, I'd rather have him do something like this than what he's been doing, which is doubling down on stupid stuff that he said. I don't care if he's faking it. Let's fake until we start to change. Maybe
it spoke to you then.
It did. It was better than he's been.
See, for me, it's just, when you come out of the gate, and you start this, he started that.
Right.
It started with the Mexicans and the rapists and all. And when you double down and you go and you get all the backing from the white supremacist groups, and you don't say right as soon as it happens, no, I disavow this. And it takes you forever to talk about the fact that Jewish cemeteries and the JCCs are being bombarded by people who are essentially feel they have been given the right to do this by you as the president.
Bomb threats.
I needed him to say, listen, that family, a guy who said he listens to me and believes in what I believe, killed 2 people. He mentioned it briefly. You know, the guy says he's a supporter of mine. I'm not a supporter of his. That was horrific. And if those families had been in that gallery also, I might feel a little bit like, okay, you are starting to get it.
Yeah.
I might have, because when somebody does stuff in your name, that's what you disavow also.
Oh, well,
You
he
make
doesn't-
that
he
a
doesn't
big.
buy that.
You make that a.
I don't
well,
think
but
he's
the guy
gonna,
said
I don't
it.
think his heart is going to change. I've said this before. The majority of his speeches thus far in talks and
You want him to be a better actor.
well, he's normally spoken to, and what I've always heard is it's not that he's against these groups. He has an apathy towards them because if you weren't for him, he's not for you. He continues to speak for the people that supported him.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to change his heart and all of a sudden have
Is
the
it
empathy.
fair to say he doesn't have a heart? Is it fair to say
I
that he
didn't say he
doesn't
didn't have a heart.
empathy?
I said a change of heart. I'm not expecting him to all of a sudden be so disgusted by some of the things that have happened and speak out to
In
them. I don't
his
think
name.
that's going to change.
Yeah,
I
that's-
think that I'm saying that I saw more of the right language, and this was a step in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah, but don't buy it.
I'm more concerned with policy, though, and I'm seeing
Did you
some
hear a lot of
shift.
policy?
I mean, I did. I heard with respect to, you know, border security. I've been
We
hearing.
heard no specifics.
Well,
we heard
this
no
isn't-
particulars.
They
We
don't
heard
do
no
that here.
plans.
They don't.
Campaign
Politicians
mode.
in this venue don't get specific.
Yeah.
Like it or not, I'd like to hear more specifics. But with respect to immigration, I've been hearing that there's been a shift where he may actually look into granting legal status to undocumented people who are here who have not committed
didn't say
violent
that
crime.
yesterday.
He didn't say that yesterday, but there's been some internal circulation out there. I don't think Donald Trump is a hard right kind of guy. I do think internally, if you've listened to past statements he made before he ran for president this time, I think he was much more moderate. And I'm wondering if there's not some level of self-awareness here. I'm hoping that he realizes that he is everyone's president. And look, he is our president. So I think when he speaks in an optimistic way like this, it's worth at least listening and hoping that there's been a change
It's
of
so
heart.
nice of you to think that.
I do.
But you
I would like
it's
to
nice
give
of
it a
you to
shot.
think that there is an actual core of self in the man. He doesn't care about anything, in my opinion.
I'm not ready
There's
to-
no there
What do you
there.
think changed his tone, though,
A
last
different
night?
speechwriter.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm prepared to go that far. You know, look, I don't know that I'm prepared to go that far.
How far?
You know, that he just doesn't have a heart or that he's never going to
No, I don't
change.
think anybody said he doesn't have a
Talking
heart.
about
He
his
has. I'm sure he has a
His
heart. I'm
moral
sure
compass.
I'm sure, you know, there's lots to praise about Donald Trump. I haven't found it, but that doesn't mean.
But we're looking.
But
we're looking.
But wait, you know, but I'm looking at what he's doing.
Right.
The things he's doing. You know, I love when people give me a good story.
Yeah.
But I don't like getting BS'd. And I've been watching how he's been conducting himself, the people he's surrounded himself with. And I'm concerned.
That's fair.
You know,
I
I'm
also
concerned. And a good speech, you know, my God, I give good speech.
But I also
would
think
like to
you're the
talk
type,
about
like
that.
my sense of you.
You know what that sounded like.
Yeah, no, I think you're the type of person, though, that will give credit where credit is due. And if there is a turnaround via action and not necessarily
Yes.
words, I think you'll be one of
But
the
it
first
was
people to
it was
acknowledge
a,
it.
it was
let's
a
see
good
it.
speech.
I don't see it.
No, she's
all
talking
I'm
about-
saying,
yeah,
all
yeah.
I'm saying
Hermione
is
was
that
on
I'm
her,
hopeful.
not you.
All I'm saying is that let's see.
You know,
Let's see.
he talks about unifying. He burns the house down.
Let's
then he says,
see.
let's build the house.
Whoopi's got to go.
I remain a little more hopeful after the speech.
We're going!